CCM is holding our seventh annual Representation Matters two-day training in collaboration with the Campaign School at Yale University on February 28th and March 7th. We have seen hundreds of interested individuals get tools to help them on their journey to local elected office or service on a board or commission. Today we will hear from some of our speakers about why representation matters to them and how the program is successful in giving tools to candidates at all levels. If you want to register for Representation Matters, our free virtual two-day training, which is open to everyone, and visit us at ccm-ct.org for more information. The Municipal Voice is a Connecticut Conference of Municipalities podcast in collaboration with WNHH LP 103.5 FM. I'm your host, Matt Ford. As always, be sure to give us a like and let us know what you're thinking in the comments. CCM's Municipal Voice podcast continues to present a key forum on important state and local issues. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect the consensus views of CCM or our member municipal leaders. Oh, they went and hit it on me. Okay. Corby, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
So we have you on today to talk about an upcoming event at CCM, and it's Representation Matters, and this is going to be, I think, our sixth year, right?
This is our seventh year, I believe.
Seventh. Oh my God. Time flies, right?
It really
So
does.
for the people at home, just quickly, what is Representation Matters?
So, Representation Matters is a program created by CCM in regards to what happened with the George Floyd incident.
Okay.
After George Floyd happened, CCM decided internally that we not only wanted to make a statement similar to other companies and organizations, but we wanted
Hmm.
to do something to make a change and a difference. So, we decided to do a racial equity series to kind of educate the public
Hmm.
as well as our members about the systematic disparities between people of color versus non-people of color.
Hmm.
And it was a great series that was held. And beyond that, what happened internally at CCM was determining or deciding what would be next.
Hmm.
And so we're like, all right, everyone's educated. They know about the disparities, whether it's housing or healthcare or any field pretty much.
Hmm.
And so that's when CCM came up with the idea of representation matters,
Hmm.
where we can have um, we can start training the community to represent the community within the population of the state of Connecticut.
Hmm.
At the time, Connecticut's population, when we originally started, was 33% people of color.
Hmm.
And I'm sure since COVID, it's significantly increased, even though there hasn't been a census since then.
Hmm.
But since then, we've decided, hey, you know what? Let's uh, partner with the campaign school at Yale, which is
Hmm.
part of Yale's law school,
Okay.
and let's do a training series for those that are interested in civic engagement and want to do more in their community. And they want to hold offices, whether it's statewide or locally,
Yeah,
um, to have, our state offices, local offices reflect those people in the community, which are
that's
all
great.
people.
Yeah. And so, I know you talked about local and state. I think this year we're focusing a little bit more on the state, but a lot of the lessons are applicable either way, I think.
Yes.
Um, and you also mentioned one of our partners in this, which is the
Yes.
campaign school at Yale. And that's so there's two separate days, right?
Yes, there are two
Okay.
separate days of training. The first day of training will be this Saturday, February 28th.
Hmm.
And that's the campaign school at Yale's day to host the training for the public
Yeah.
that decides to register to attend. So they'll discuss making the decision to run for state office
Hmm.
or to run a campaign or to get more involved in your community. They'll talk about finding your voice, which is showing you how to speak out in public. And it's
Okay.
kind of like a public speaking 101.
Hmm.
And then they also will have a roundtable discussion with those that have gone through this process already,
Yeah.
just sharing their experiences, their key learnings on running for state office within the state.
Yeah, that's really cool. I know, I think I was looking at the agenda, and there's a couple of guest speakers who are alumni of the program who are now
Yes.
actually like state reps and stuff. So like people who took the lessons to heart and really went with it. And yeah, that's so first day is with TCS Yale, and I know
Mhm.
that Patty Russo, executive director over there, has been working with us on that. And
Yep.
I actually we have a interview that we did with her, talking with her a little bit about the importance of the program and how she got into it and that kind of stuff. So we'll play that for the people at home. But
Matt,
mhm,
Connecticut is the land of steady habits,
yeah.
right? So things move slowly, but we're definitely seeing a shift. Look at
Hmm.
all the women that we have on the state level who are serving as our constitutionals, right?
Yeah.
Susan Bysiewicz, Stephanie Thomas. I mean, how exciting is that, right?
Yeah.
More and more women serving as state senators and state reps. It's happening. It's
Hmm.
just not happening as quickly as we would like it to be. So that's why
Yeah.
these trainings, these opportunities are so important and so critical. Let me think about it. Let me just put my toe in the water. Let me just go to a training,
Hmm.
not make a commitment, just kind of see where maybe I would have the opportunity to lead in my community. That's why it's so important. Our structure, our political structure, was not made for women and people of color to
Hmm.
succeed, Matt. Our structure was made for white men to succeed.
Hmm.
And you know what? They've done really well. Now we're seeing more and more uh, white people, women and men, wanting to serve as partners and
Hmm.
allies to our people of color who are running for office. And that just, I think, helps to make a world of difference.
Hmm.
This is not it's got to be a collaborative effort in order to
Yeah.
be successful and effective. Lauren Underwood is a perfect example
Yeah.
of that. She had to turn to her allies and partners in her district because there are so few people of color in her district.
Yeah. And just getting the message out there that representation and increasing diversity doesn't just benefit those communities, but benefits all of us.
It benefits everyone. It benefits everyone. It lifts everybody up. That's what's so exciting about the work is to
Yeah.
see it, to see how effective that the process has been.
Yeah. And we talk about the excitement. We've mentioned how hard it can be, intimidating, that it maybe is not for everyone. These are, pretty heady topics. But do you get a sense that some of the people taking your class, and representation matters, or your other classes are having fun?
They're having a blast. I try to make it fun. I like having a good time, Matt. Believe me. I don't shy away from doing hard things, but if it wasn't fun, I wouldn't be doing it. It is so much fun. I love it. So the Monday of class, our
Hmm.
5 day, I'll say to our students, now they're coming from all over the country and the world.
Hmm.
They're meeting each other for the first time. They're at Yale Law School. Those of you who have been seated at Yale Law School just know how you feel when you're at Yale Law School.
Hmm.
You're being trained by the best and the brightest in our country, both on the Democratic and Republican side.
Hmm.
It's pretty exciting. And so I will say to our students that Monday morning that by Wednesday they're not going to recognize themselves just by virtue of having this experience. They'll start feeling energized. They'll start feeling confident, more secure as a result of all of the training that they're receiving.
You are listening to the Municipal Voice on WNHH 103.5 FM. And so, what do we
You're
have for people on day two?
you're correct, Matt. So glad you asked. Day two is definitely full of engagement, very similar to day one in training. We're going to discuss how to pursue an elective and or appointed position in state
Hmm.
government that's usually not discussed or talked about. We will have different speakers throughout the state that hold state offices
Hmm.
talk about their journeys to leadership and why representation matters in state office as well as local office. We'll also have our own roundtable
Hmm.
um, on how to build stronger communities, whether it's different party leaders just
Hmm.
explaining their journeys, as well as a brief session on who or what inspires you to be civically engaged.
That's cool.
We'll also have special guests continuing from the state office, like our state treasurer
Hmm.
or our secretary of the state, as well as um, partnering with some of our partners for this day, like the greater YWCA of
Okay.
Hartford.
So there's other
They're
nonprofits that are involved with this, not just us and
right,
TCS.
nonprofits, education partners like CABE as well.
Hmm.
Um, and we will also talk about state and government services and how they're
Okay.
paid, similar to like a state government finance 101. So
Hmm.
should you decide to run for state office, you
You kind of have
understand
a grasp of the
from a
basics of how the state finances work. Yeah.
yes, from a state level. And usually that information is not out there. And
Hmm.
so we're pretty happy to provide that training. And then at the end of the day, we save the best for last with our
Hmm.
expert panel of people that are currently state reps and or senators
Hmm.
within our state. And they share their experiences again and key learnings to help everyone.
Think the whole idea about representation is important, and that we have leaders who represent our communities. When little boys and little girls look up and they say, "I want to run for president," what does that mean? And do they really believe that they can win and that someone would accept them? I think with the election of President Barack Obama, people of color, little boys, little girls, even adult men and women were inspired because they saw a person with a skin color similar to their own that was voted as president. Similarly, we see mayors and legislators, and we look and say, can I do that? Can I be that person also? And when we see those people, whether they reflect our values, our cultural backgrounds, our identities, we're more encouraged when we see people like us. And I think that causes people to want to be able to do that as well, because it seems possible, it's doable, it's attainable. So this idea about representation goes really deep, far, and wide.
Talk about why, it might be interesting for the individuals to do this, to see someone to be represented, but why is it important for the communities to have representation from people from all colors, genders? Why is it important to everybody at the table?
So it reminds me of a quote from the book, and I'll read it, from the book The Sum of Us by Heather McGhee. And it's, the title book is The Sum of Us, What Racism Costs Everyone and How We Can Prosper Together. It's by Heather McGhee. And one of her quotes there, and I underlined this because I keep coming back to it, and she talks about the urgency for her to shift from the nonprofit that she was working at, and get into more of the fight of creating change in a more productive way. She's an economist, and she said, part of my sense of urgency about the work was that my people, Black people, are disproportionately ill-served by bad economic policy decisions. I was going to help make better ones. I came to view the relationship between race and inequality as most people in my field do, linearly, like in a linear way. Structural racism accelerates inequality for communities of color. When our government made bad economic decisions for everyone, the results were even worse for people already saddled with discrimination and disadvantage. And so I believe this is the case across every city and state in America, where we have these these structures that were created to benefit some of the population, right, and not all. And when bad decisions are made for the majority of people, and only a small minority of the people benefit, that's a problem. And so we have to have people in office, in public office, who are looking for equality, right? And looking to kind of break up some of these inequities that we see happening in our society as it relates to public health, as it relates to housing, as it relates to a number of different things, education. And so we need people who understand the struggle. We need people who understand the things that are important to their constituents, right? And that's different, right? That's different in every community, and even within communities, there are differences, right? But we know that disproportionately, right, there are not a lot of legislators of color. There are not a lot of elected officials of color. So we need more of that so that we can get to some of the root causes and start pulling those things up, and casting a light on them so that we really can start chopping down and rebuilding, systems that work for everyone. Right, because right now that's not happening, and we do have some great legislators, definitely in our Black and Puerto Rican caucus, and we have others who are allies in it. Right, it's not just about people of color, but it's about all of us working together. But I think that's why representation matters. Right, that's why it's important to have representation for diverse groups with diverse values, so that people can get what they need in order to be successful.
You are listening to the Municipal Voice on WNHH 103.5 FM.
Talking about the first one is TCSEL and the second week it's us, but both of these are being held virtually, correct?
Yes, they're being held virtually via Zoom.
Okay.
If anyone is interested in registering, they can register for each day by going to www.ccmcares.com.
Okay.
And on that page, there will be a button to register for day one with Yale, as
Mm-hmm.
well as a link to register for day two with CCM as well, which will be held
Okay.
on March 7th.
Now, obviously, we want people to, do both days if they can, but if they can't,
Yes.
could they register for like the second week and not the first if they couldn't make the first week?
Yes, if they're unable to make the Saturday, they're more than welcome to register for CCM's day. There's no penalty for not being able to attend both sessions, but I
Mm-hmm.
do recommend attending both sessions.
Yeah.
It's a great
And
experience.
it's a great experience. And also, they're both free, correct?
Yes, and they are both free,
So
which
free
is
online, so it's not too hard. It's not
yes,
expensive for people. Like, there's not a whole
right.
lot of excuses.
Nope, it just takes some of your time, 5 hours on each Saturday, and you should be in pretty good shape to go, especially if you're considering running for a local office or state office, excuse me.
Yeah. And I know we've also talked in the past that not just the can for being candidates, but also if someone was interested in maybe helping a candidate or being involved in a campaign without necessarily being the person, on the ballot themselves, if they're, not
Right.
all of us want to stand up at the podium and get people to vote for us, but
That is true.
everyone can get involved in trying to help make our government more representative.
Yes, everyone can, and we do discuss different types of jobs that you can have as being part of someone's statewide campaign, and how you can support your friend or your family member that decides that they want to make the move to run for a state office or an appointed state office
Yeah. So it's
role.
something we can all aspire to.
Yes, that's true indeed.
Definitely. Um, so Corey, we said this is our seventh year, and you've been with it from the start. You do
Yeah.
our events. Is there anybody over the years that you found particularly inspiring? Or
Yes, over the years, there's been many speakers that I have found inspiring. I would say there are two or three that stand out in mind. I would say the first that I can think of off the top of my head would be Johanna Hayes. She
who is
spoke.
a U.S. senator now, right?
Yes, yes, she is a
Wow.
U.S. senator now. And when she spoke, I found her story interesting and truly inspiring. The second would be our Secretary of the State. She is from my hometown of Norwalk, and
Hmm.
hearing her story and how she got to her role and her position as Secretary of the State for Connecticut, that 1,000,000% inspired me as
Yeah,
well.
it was not a straight line for her. Certainly, she had two rough roads, and she can kind of share that experience with people and how she
Yeah,
came out
and it
the other
was
side.
definitely relatable for me.
So you spoke at this year's Representation Matters, which is a CCM program where we do a 2-day training with the campaign school at Yale that was aimed to help people of color seek office, serve boards and commissions. And you spoke about your path to elected office and how unlikely it seemed, at every turn. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I always tell people, don't do it the way I did it. But
They say
the
not as
way
I
we
do.
did it, on paper, it shouldn't have worked. But it was very organic. And what I do say is that people should follow their passions. I had a long career in the nonprofit sector. I was very happy doing that work. I was running my own fundraising consulting firm and doing quite well. And it wasn't until I started meeting some people locally, going to meetings and finding out how things worked. And I think I never considered myself someone who would run for office or get involved in what I called politics, although now I would say it's getting involved in governance. I thought I was doing the public good in the nonprofit space, but I saw a need. I saw that there weren't a lot of people who were like me. And some people think I mean as a woman or as a woman of color. And I do mean those things, but I also mean as a nonprofit professional. I would sit at a table and hear people discuss a problem. And I would say like, hey, the nonprofits solved this problem, 10 years ago. You didn't know that this was the best way to handle it. And people didn't know sometimes. So I ran for office. I petitioned my way onto the ballot because I had passed the convention dates, and I ran what I like to describe as a very organic, last minute campaign. I really got started very late summer, and I lost that election, but only by a few hundred votes, which I considered a win. And then I decided to run again for different reasons. And I won. And then I decided to run for secretary because it was a job that really appealed to me. It was not the sort of, I don't know, luster of serving at the constitutional level. But two of my passions are civic engagement, civic education, and making sure people vote in every single election. But I also love business because I'm a small business owner, and I worked for a small business for 20 years prior to that, opening my own. So I felt like the secretary's office involved both things that I love. So I applied for the job, and here I am.
And here you are. That's really cool. And we're lucky enough to this year, I think in the second week, we are getting Treasurer Russell and the Secretary of State Thomas are going to be showing up again to
Yes,
say a little
we
piece.
are lucky enough and blessed enough to have them both be speaking on our day on March 7th and sharing their stories and nuggets of knowledge and key learnings over the years.
What does representative government look like, and what does it mean to you?
Absolutely. Fundamentally, representation only happens when our government is connected to and reflects the voice of the people who are being served. And certainly that means that we have to have represented officials who look like the racial and gender breakdown, the ethnicity breakdown, the wealth distribution, that we have people who are able-bodied and differently abled, that we have folks really represent the fullness of what this state of Connecticut really is in terms of people's homes. So representation matters because I think you can't represent folks whose issues you don't understand. Representation matters because those who are most impacted by things should have the most say in what the good solutions are and the ability to propose and enact solutions to those. And I think we see the failure when we don't have representative government in terms of the ability to meet the needs of all people. And
nuggets of knowledge is good. Okay, Corey. So just one more time for the people at home, where, when, and how can they sign up?
So to sign up, They can go to CCM's website for this event, which is www.ccmcares.com. And we encourage everyone, whether you are in municipal office, work for City Hall, Town Hall, or not, to share with your friends and your family that wants to be more civically engaged within our state.
Great. Well, Corby, thanks so much for talking with us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate
I'm
it.
sure it's going to be a good couple days.
And look forward to seeing you there, Matt.
Boom.
The Municipal Voice is a co-production by CCM and WNHH 103.5 FM. Joe Thornton is our executive producer, Christopher Gilson is our producer, Harry Draws is on the boards, and I'm Matt Ford, your host. Be sure to check out our Facebook page and give us a like. And watch out for our CCM chat series on our YouTube page.